बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। हाई कोर्ट रूल्स एंड वॉल्यूम, लाहौर हाई कोर्ट के वॉल्यूम 1, 2, 3 मैं ऑलरेडी कर चुकी हूँ, जो आपको मेरे चैनल की प्लेलिस्ट में मिल जाएंगे। वॉल्यूम 4 आज ये बेसिकली मैं सिर्फ क्विक रिव्यू करती हूँ और बाकी जो चैप्टर वाइज डिटेल लेक्चर जो है वो इसके बाद में उसकी सीरीज स्टार्ट करूँगी। तो चलें जी शुरू करते हैं। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। हाई कोर्ट रूल्स एंड ऑर्डर्स वॉल्यूम 4 चैप्टर 1 सुपरिटेंडेंस एंड कंट्रोल पार्ट 1 जनरल, पार्ट ए सुपरविजन एंड कंट्रोल। प्रियम्बल पूरी पढ़ लेते हैं इसकी, और ताकि पता चले कि इसमें एक्चुअली है क्या, और बाकी फिर उसकी सिर्फ जस्ट हेडिंग्स का रिव्यू करूँगी। In subsequent chapters, instructions are given on various matters connected with the supervision and control to be exercised by judicial officers, generally over the ministerial establishment attached to their courts, and by controlling officers over subordinate judicial officers. A few general directions on the subject are given for observance. Supervision by controlling courts in executive matters. Supervision by controlling courts in judicial work. Appellate courts should be point out to lower courts errors and irregularities. Presiding officer to acquaint himself with the rules and orders of High Court and to exercise supervision over the staff. Response part B है जी pecuniary control, responsibility of presiding officer for proper accounting and application of money and property received. Receipt of money orders during absence presiding officer. Prohibition against receipt of checks from private persons. Supervision of pecuniary transactions by controlling officers. Declaration in account or loss of public money should be reported. Directions as to receipt of money and property security to be taken from officials. Cancellation of stamps. Detection of fraud to be reported to High Court. Instructions regarding deposit of money received by a government servant. Responsibility for loss on account or of overpayment of pay etc. Part C. Inspection of subordinate courts. Monthly inspection of subordinate courts by district judge and district magistrate. Duty of inspection officer to see that unnecessary adjournments are not granted. Inspection by district judge and district magistrate in district not visited by inspection judge. Inspection by district judge and district magistrate in district visited by the inspection judge. Forwarding of inspection notes to High Courts. Date and scope of inspection notes. High Court shall receive annual report as to work of every judicial officer. Inspection reports of honorary magistrates and honorary sub-judges. Inspection of Tahsildar courts. Inspection by presiding officer. Submission of inspection notes. Work of predecessor not to be criticized. Inability to inspect on the date fixed. Part D. Reports on the work of judicial officers. Reports on the work of judicial officers, reporting authorities and period covered by the report. List of officers about whom and the authority to whom reports are to be submitted. Reports about Tahsildar and Naib Tahsildar. Reporting authority to record his opinion on transfer. Report about officers who have served for less than 3 months in the district. A report to be kept confidential and office copies destroyed after 5 years. Forms prescribed to be used. अच्छा जी, ये इसके फॉर्म्स हो गए। फॉर्म्स को आप देख लीजिएगा, इसको डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ रही, बस इसको पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है क्योंकि ये बेसिकली एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से रिलेटेड है। 4 वॉल्यूम। Assumption and relinquishment of charge of appointments by judicial officers. Report of assumptions and relinquishment of charge. Relieving officers should see that public money and property is duly taken over. Transfer of charge report and key of the safe. Relieving officers' responsibility for deficiency. Certificate to accompany the relinquishing charge report. Cases in which charge reports to be submitted to government. Part F. Acquisition and disposal of immovable and other valuable property by judicial officers and the subordinate civil courts establishment. Rules governing acquisition of immovable property. अच्छा जी, acquisition of property for making profit amounts to misdemeanor. Previous sanction of the Honorable honorable judges to be obtained for acquisition of property, mortgage of a permanent nature or immovable property require previous sanctions. Annual declaration of immovable property. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है पार्ट जी, पोजीशनिंग position of additional district and session judge. Additional judge is subordinate to district judge in administrative matters. District judge may assign any of his judicial functions to the additional judge. Position of additional session judge. Additional judge may to be acquainted with the orders passed by the district judge. चैप्टर 2 है जी सुपरिटेंडेंस एंड कंट्रोल सिविल कोर्ट्स. सुपरिटेंडेंस जब चैप्टर 1 है वो जनरल सुपरिटेंडेंस एंड कंट्रोल है, और ये अब स्पेसिफिकली सिविल कोर्ट्स के बारे से. कंट्रोलिंग अथॉरिटी, कंट्रोल ओवर इस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ सिविल कोर्ट्स, कंट्रोल ओवर प्रोसेस सर्विंग इस्टेब्लिशमेंट, कंट्रोल ओवर इस्टेब्लिशमेंट डीलिंग विद सिविल वर्क, फिक्सिंग ऑफ केसेस ड्यूरिंग कैजुअल लीव ऑफ सब जजेस, सर्कुलर ऑर्डर्स इशूड बाय द डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज. पार्ट बी, इंस्पेक्शन ऑफ सबऑर्डिनेट कोर्ट्स. Power of High Court to frame rules for inspection of lower court. Chapter 1C containing general instructions. Scope of inspection. Annual inspection of their own courts by district judges. Superior inspection to check cancellation of court fee stamp memorandum of point to be attended by the inspecting officer general. State of court house, library, correction slips, accommodation for the bar, court establishment, register. Part 2 civil registers. Register 1, register 10, register 11, register 6, 7, 9 others. अच्छा जी, एग्जीक्यूटिंग डिक्रीज के हवाले से मिसलिनियस केसेस, जनरल, नाजिर, कॉपीज, रिकॉर्ड्स, petition writers, pleaders of or mukhtars, inspection of civil records, original source, verification and stamping of plaints, summons of defendant, service of process, adjournments, proof of service, setting aside ex parte orders, documents, abstract of orders, drawing of decrees, arbitration, commissioner, a review of judgment, rejection and return of plaint, pauper application, stamps, memorandum of appeal, dismissal in limine, judgments, remands, order 41, rule 11, decree general. चैप्टर 3 है जी सुपरिटेंडेंस एंड कंट्रोल क्रिमिनल कोड्स. पहला जनरल, दूसरा सिविल कोड्स और तीसरा क्रिमिनल कोड का कंट्रोल. कंट्रोलिंग अथॉरिटी, कंट्रोल ऑफ सेशन जज ओवर डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट एंड अदर मजिस्ट्रेट, सबऑर्डिनेशन ऑफ मजिस्ट्रेट टू सेशन जज, circular orders issued by district magistrate, duty of district magistrate about proper administration of criminal justice, district magistrate to hear sufficient appeals to keep himself fully occupied. District magistrate must try original cases. Scrutiny of monthly statements of criminal work by the district magistrate, daily supervision by district magistrate, punctual attendance and surprise visits. Police register and its used by the district magistrate, deputy commissioner as head of prosecuting agency, inspection of under trial section of the jail, system of sending up witnesses with the challan, arrest reports, remand and completion report. Senior magistrate to exercise supervision in absence of district magistrate, avoiding delay in filing revision and appeal, consequences of serious slackness of magistrate, inspection of subordinate courts. General instruction, session judge and district magistrates can comment on proceeding. List of subjects for inquiry. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद नेक्स्ट है चैप्टर 4 कोर्ट फी एंड स्टैम्प्स. पार्ट ए रिडक्शन, रिमिशन एंड रिफंड ऑफ कोर्ट फी. एप्लीकेशन फॉर रिफंड ऑफ प्राइस ऑफ स्टैम्प और रिन्यूअल ऑफ स्टैम्प पेपर. एप्लीकेशन फॉर परचेज ऑफ सॉल्ट. एप्लीकेशन फॉर रिफंड वैल्यू ऑफ स्टैम्प ऑन प्लेंड. कॉपीज ऑफ सेटलमेंट रिकॉर्ड एंड लिस्ट ऑफ फील्ड्स. Appeals under section 47 and 144 criminal procedure code. Security bonds for keeping peace. Application to forward a petition to the central government. Private copies. Application for deposit. Application to occupy land under government. Application for loan. Application for remission or suspension of loans. Application for return of impounded documents. Copy of charge given to accused. Copy of supplementary evidence after commitment given to accused. Copy of judgment and heads of charge to jury to be supplied to accused. Copy of judgment to accused in jail. Copy of maintenance order. Copy supplied to accused under section 548 criminal procedure code. Copies furnished to lawyers of government. Copies furnished to lawyers of government. Copies required by the police. Application for return of documents. Suit for a share of a revenue paying state separately assessed. Copies furnished to lawyer of government. Fraction of an anna to be remitted. Application for license for sale of stamp. Application for refund of fine. Applications for certain copies. Duty chargeable for probates etc. of the share of deceased member of a company. Application for suspension or remission of land revenue. Application for advice from agricultural department. Fees for succession certificate probates etc. of the property of a state servant in certain cases and for mutation of the property. Copies of decrees of courts of Baroda State. Copies of proceeding under Section 37 of the Punjab Land Revenue Act. Application under Section 97 of the Punjab Land Revenue Act. Copies of records mentioned in Chapter 4 of the Punjab Land Revenue Act. Application for grant of fishing license. Application to record a statement or sanction a mutation under Section 34(4) of Land Revenue Act. Application to municipal notified area or small town committee or district or cantonment board for copy of document or to a municipal commissioner in certain cases. Petition and appeals against order punishment by officials in certain cases. Application made by a magistrate or a registering authority under Punjab Motor Vehicle Rules. Application made to a magistrate as a licensing officer under wild and wild animals, wild bird and wild animals protection rules. Application by a revenue agent for renewal of certificate, mukhtarnama or wakalatnama by a convicted criminal prisoner. Application by a lawyer to inspect court registered. Application to debt conciliation board. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है नेक्स्ट पार्ट बी, डिस्क्रिप्शन of stamps to be used for denoting fees chargeable under the court fees act. Kinds of stamps: when fee chargeable less than rupees 25, when fee chargeable is more than rupees 25. Fraction of anna to be remitted. If in case of amount fee chargeable on falls a fraction of anna, such fraction shall be remitted. Certificate in case stamp of the required value is not available. ये अभी तक वही चल रहा है, इन्होंने चेंज ही नहीं करते, उसको पता नहीं क्यों. पार्ट सी, कैंसिलेशन ऑफ कोर्ट फी स्टैम्प. कोर्ट फी इज टू बी इफेक्टेड. मोड ऑफ कैंसिलेशन ऑफ स्टैम्प ऑन डॉक्यूमेंट्स रिसीव्ड बाय अ कोर्ट और रिसीव्ड ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ process fee. Mode of cancellation of stamp on documents issued by a court. Fee or office cancellation of stamps by record keeper. Certificate required when a record is transferred from an official to another. Record keeper to see that stamps in the record are complete. Certificate as to completeness of stamps when a record is taken out of record room. Precautions against the fraudulent use of stamps. Instruction to be observed when two or more impressed stamps are used. Instrument not duly stamped under the Stamp Act 1899. Section 33 to 35 of the Stamp Act are mandatory. Duty of public officer to examine and impound documents not duly stamped. Conditions on which a document not duly stamped be admitted in evidence. Certificate to be endorsed on a document admitted in evidence on payment of duty and penalty. Duty of court to send collector to the impounded document or its copy in certain cases. Return of documents admitted in evidence on payment of duty and penalty. Duty or penalty paid may be included in cost. Stamp duty on copies and petitions. Copies not liable to court fee duty. Copies liable to court fee duty. Court fee on application of Chief Revenue Executive Authority. Part F, audit and control of stamps revenue in the Punjab rules. Appointment of stamp auditor, controlling authority to a program of auditors. Scope of audit: registered stamp deficiency auditor to check these registered deficiencies in stamps to be notified to the collector. Help to be rendered to the collector auditor by the courts and officials. Auditor to draw attention of officers as to their parts and duty insufficiently stamped documents. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है ऑफिसर टू होम द कॉपी ऑफ ऑडिट नोट इज टू बी सेंट. Action to be taken. Audit note, posting of recoveries in proper register and writing of irrecoverable items. Action to be taken by auditors. Re-proper source register SA5. Auditor to check applications for refund of value of stamps and register of stamp vendors. Defects in the vend arrangements to be brought notice of the collector, monthly reports by auditors, certificate in form SA6 to be attached to travelling allowance bills by auditors, review of stamp audit system by financial commissioner. फाइन ये सारे फॉर्म्स हो गए ऑडिटर के रूल्स पार्ट जी ऑडिट एंड कंट्रोल ऑफ स्टैम्प रेवेन्यू इन द Delhi province rules appointment of stamp auditor controlling authority monthly program of auditor scope of audit register of stamp deficiency register to be checked by auditor deficiency in stamp to be notified to the collector facilities to be afforded to the auditor to draw attention of officers as to their parts and duties insufficiently stamped documents register officers to whom copy of audit note to be sent action to be taken on audit posting of recoveries in proper registered and writing of irrecoverable items action to be taken by ancestors re-proper suits auditor to check applications for refund of value of stamps and also register of stamp vendor defects in arrangements for sale of stamps monthly report by auditors certificate to be attached to travelling allowance bills review of stamp audit system. Chapter 5 Process Fees Remarks and Directions Table of fees to be exhibited in each courthouse fee on criminal process agency for service of criminal process on which fee is levied recovery of process fee from accused as a fine in certain cases controlling authority over process serving agency registered and account to be kept and returns submitted by all courts diary of process fee receipts for process fee preparation and issue of process particulars to be noted on process issued accounts of process fees and cost of establishment to be maintained review of process serving establishment in civil report diary of process fee in case of substituted service no process fee for several attempts to serve the same process fresh fee payable for every fresh fee payable when a fresh process has to issue for warrant of correct address no fee to be charged for serving and executing processes on behalf of prosecution in certain criminal proceeding rules under section 20 class 1 and d rules general grades of courts for purposes of process fees अच्छा जी separate process to issue for each person to be served and a separate fee for to be charged process fee when a process has to be served on four or more persons no fee chargeable for criminal process in cognizable case process issued by and sent to the court in British territory to be served free of charge वाह वाह travelling allowance of process services अभी तक ब्रिटिश इंडिया और ये सब कुछ चल रहा है पाकिस्तान में कमाल है हालांकि ये हाई कोर्ट में काफ़ी सारे अभी आगे आएंगे जो कि वो ओमिटेड हुए हैं जब ओमिट करते हैं तो ये इन अल्फाज को भी तो ओमिट करना चाहिए वो पता नहीं क्यों नहीं करते अच्छा खैर वैसे ये लॉजिक मुझे समझ नहीं आती कि क्यों नहीं ओमिटेड करते उन अल्फाज को अभी तक चैप्टर 6 प्रोसेस सर्विंग एस्टेब्लिशमेंट रिमार्क्स एंड डायरेक्शंस जनरल चैप्टर 18A deals with appointments controlling authority duties of civil nazir registration of process servers courts by whom the registered is to be kept only registered process server to be employed belts and badges of bailiffs and process servers scale of process servers and their distribution among different courts contingent expenditure special messenger and special bailiff part b rules under section 20 class 3 rules scale of salary of process serving इस्टेब्लिशमेंट इसमें जो सैलरी लिखी हुई है ना वो एक्चुअल में है नहीं पे ऑफ एडिशनल प्रोसेस सर्वर रिम्यूनरेशन ऑफ स्पेशल मैसेंजर रूल्स अंडर सेक्शन 22 हाई कोर्ट to fix number of process server for each district distribution of process server among senior courts how to fix the number of process server for each district process server not to be employed for any other work अच्छा जी चैप्टर 7 है प्रोसेस सिविल कोड्स जनरल प्रोविजंस रिगार्डिंग सर्विस ऑफ समन रूल्स रिगार्डिंग सर्विस इन पर्टिकुलर केसेस सर्विस इन कंटोनमेंट्स service on witness service of orders and notices service of process during trial appeal and execution forms of processors form for return of processes scale of processes fees, processes sent by post, employment of process server for execution of warrants, attachment, arrest and sale, service of processes, mode of service, service by affixation not to be made before the date fixed for scrutiny of service, substituted service, plaintiff's duty before obtaining order, substituted service, publication in newspaper, publication allowed in approved papers only, selection of paper to be made by the presiding officer, preference to vernacular papers printed in the district of the person to be notified, publication or to be arranged through public information bureau, covering letter to be forwarded to director information bureau and action to be taken by him, advertisements in papers not on the approved list, general, the judge should watch process of service before date of hearing, court to fix dates for furnishing talbana and date for return of process, renders a note about service, parties and judges duty as to scrutiny of service on date of return, judge to take into consideration parties conduct in deciding about adjournment, process servers affidavit, re-service of process, proof of service, court shall not proceed ex parte if summons has not been duly served, process servers report to be proved by affidavit or re-examination in court, nature of proof of services in different cases, personal services, service on agent, service on in charge of property, service on adult male member of the family, service by affixation under rule 5 order 5 rule 17, substituted service order 5 rule 20, service at address given by party, service on forms, proof of service is imperative. Part C. Issue of summons or other processes for service on a person employed in the public service. Service of summons on public officers or servants of a local or railway company. Service of summons in suits against railway companies. Sufficient time to be allowed for the official superior to arrange for relief of the person summoned. Vernacular cards may be sent to summon revenue officials but not to offices where business is transacted in English. Part D. Issue of summons for or other processes for service on persons in the Army, Navy, or Air Force. Service of process on employees in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Sufficient time to be allowed in fixing date. Fresh date should be given if time allowed proves insufficient. Service on agent or pleader. Different modes of service. Full description to be given of person summoned, process should bear the seal and signature of the court and show the name of the court and district. Cases wherein process should be accompanied by translation in English. Note on the process, the proper fee has been levied. Process issued to or by any court in British territory to be served free of charge. Process sent to British possession out of India should be sent by post. Correspondence between judicial officers in the Punjab and courts other provinces to be conducted in English. Service of process received from the other district should be watched by presiding officer. Duty of court receiving summons from other court for service. Service of summons by post. Service of summons order under order 5 rule 26 CPC. Service of summons under order 5 rule 20 CPC. Instruction of re-service under order 5 rule 26 CPC. Date of return of summons, duplicate copies and translation, names and addresses and translation in foreign language, cost of translation and service, presiding officer responsible for completion of the document, index and schedule of documents and copies to be certified, service by British consular office, stitching of paper sent, directions to be given in forwarding letter, सर्विस इन इंडियन स्टेट। अच्छा जी, आगे चलते हैं अफ़गानिस्तान। और ये बाकी स्टेट्स में सर्विस कैसे होगी, किसी दूसरे मुल्क में अगर भेजी जाएगी उसका प्रोसीजर। असिस्टेंट बाय विलेज ऑफिसर्स इन प्रोसेस सर्विंग। सर्विस टाइम टू बी यूज, पार्टी नॉट रिक्वायर्ड टू पे postal charges except under order 5 rule 10 CPC. Service times to be used for summons of process and other province police assistance when requested may be made for police assistance. Government should be informed when police assistance permitted, cost of police employed, filing up of forms of process, option of party to fill up forms, responsibility for accuracy of contents, legible handwriting, dates to be filed, titled by office, free supply of forms, अपेंडिक्स। अच्छा जी, सब डिस्ट्रिक्ट में वो तरीक़ाकार प्रोसीजर है, ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट डिवाइड किया गया है इसमें। नेक्स्ट इसका कहाँ से शुरू हो रहा है, गवर्नमेंट फर्स्ट शेड्यूल है जी। पता नहीं, मुझे समझ नहीं आती कि ये हाई कोर्ट, पंजाब की हाई कोर्ट बाकी सूबा की हाई कोर्ट से सबसे सुपीरियर काउंट की जाती है, और अभी तक इसमें वही अल्फाज मौजूद हैं, इंडियन ब्रिटिश काउंसिल। हालांकि कितना एक टाइम लगेगा इन अल्फाज को अमेंड करने में। अब तो वो सॉफ्टवेयर का दौर है कि सॉफ्ट में वो पूरा का पूरा हाई कोर्ट रूल्स एंड वॉल्यूम उसमें डालें और फिर चेंज कर दे। वो क्या कहते हैं, वर्ड फाइल में एक ऐसी चीज़ें आई होती हैं कि वो एक लफ्ज़ को जहाँ जहाँ लफ्ज़ मौजूद है वहाँ से वो रिप्लेस कर देते हैं। पंजाब गवर्नमेंट पॉलिटिकल डिपार्टमेंट जनरल। अच्छा, ये जो 4 वॉल्यूम है ना इसका, ये सिर्फ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से रिलेटेड है। पेपर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ये इतना इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी पेपर में शामिल है तो इसलिए पढ़ना तो है। चैप्टर 8 है जी प्रोसेस क्रिमिनल कोड्स इशू। पहले जो चैप्टर 7 में था वो प्रोसेस था सिविल कोड्स का, और अब प्रोसेस है क्रिमिनल कोड्स का। तकरीबन मिलता जुलता ही है सारा। साइनिंग ऑफ समन्स रिगार्डिंग सर्विस ऑफ समन्स इन नॉन कॉग्निजेबल केस, फी ऑफ 8 एनास टू बी पेड फॉर सच प्रोसेस। अब ये भी चेंज होना चाहिए क्योंकि एना शना अब नहीं चलते, वो जिसे हम आना उर्दू में कहते हैं, वो ठन्नी होती है फिर उसका आना होता है, इस टाइप की चीज़ें। सर्विस ऑफ समन्स सेंट बाय कोर्ट टू प्लेस outside its jurisdiction, affidavit by police officers and process servers who serve summons. अच्छा जी, इंस्ट्रक्शन री इश्यूज ऑफ समन फॉर पर्टिकुलर क्लास ऑफ पर्सनस, preparation of issue of warrants of arrest and other processes. General warrants prescribe form of warrants which should state the special cause on which it is granted. What a warrant or process should contain. Care to be exercised in distinguishing form of warrants and summons. A warrant should not be issued where a summon can serve the purpose. Service of warrant on railway servants. Execution of warrant outside the jurisdiction of the court. Warrants under the Gambling Act. Handcuffing of prisoners. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है वारंट फॉर द अरेस्ट ऑफ विटनेस आउटसाइड ब्रिटिश इंडिया। लेटर और समन्स फॉर द अटेंडेंस ऑफ विटनेस रिजाइडिंग इन इंडियन स्टेट। ये मैं एज इट इज़ ऐसे इसलिए पढ़ रही हूँ क्योंकि ये मैंने हाई कोर्ट की वेबसाइट से डाउनलोड किया, और वेबसाइट पर ये एज इट इज़ ऐसे ही मौजूद है, तो इसलिए मैं ऐसे ही इसको पढ़ रही हूँ। और ये मैंने लेटेस्ट डाउनलोड किया, पुराना भी नहीं है। If the witness does not comply, commission may be issued to the political officer to record evidence. Commission to issue only when evidence is indispensable. Reciprocal arrangement between British India court and certain courts in Indian state for the direct service of summons against the witnesses. हद है। Reciprocal arrangement between, दोबारा वही है। Communication with the Indian state in the Punjab re-criminal cases. Summonses to witnesses in Afghanistan. Not to issue summon to members of the staff of British summon of service of summon in Balochistan. अच्छा जी, फिर अब उसके वो आ गया डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स। आगे चलते हैं, जो काम की चीज़ पढ़ने वाली। ये हाई कोर्ट रूल्स एंड वॉल्यूम 4 है ना, मेरे ख्याल से तो इस पूरे का पूरे को डिलीट ओमिट होना चाहिए। अच्छा खैर, ये है इम्पोर्टेंट इसका चैप्टर 9। QSO के साथ इसको रिलेट करके पढ़ना चाहिए, जो फिंगर इम्प्रेशन और हैंड राइटिंग ओपिनियन ऑफ एक्सपर्ट के हवाले से। Documents on which thumb impression are to be affixed. Appliances required and mode of taking impression. Further direction. Appliances required for reading impression. Henry's treatise on impression. Petition writers to obtain proper apparatus and apply proper impression. ये petition writers भी पहले होते थे, अब नहीं होते। Appellate courts to see that these instructions are followed. Impression should be affixed on a document or a space not occupied by the stamp. ये पता नहीं क्या, फिलूलर फिंगरप्रिंट ब्यूरो। एग्जामिनेशन ईयर, फीस पेबल ऑन द पुलिस फिंगरप्रिंट प्रोफिशंस इंस्ट्रक्शंस रीड एविडेंस ऑफ अ फिलूलर एक्सपर्ट। एविडेंस टू बी टेकन ऑन कमीशन थ्रू सब जज फिलूलर फिलोर पता नहीं क्या लफ्ज़ है, सॉरी। डॉक्यूमेंट्स में बी सेंट इन द फर्स्ट इंस्टेंस डायरेक्ट टू द एक्सपर्ट ऑफ फॉर एग्जामिनेशन एंड ओपिनियन सब जज फिलूलर to set apart a day each week for examination of a field or experts by bureau shall decide the name of the expert deputed to be examined. Commissioner's fee for the evidence of expert, summoning of expert in criminal cases, instruction, dispatch of documents to fill और जैसे वो मेडिकल एग्जामिनर होता है ना, ऐसे ये एक्सपर्ट होता है फिंगरप्रिंट्स को हवाले से. Application to be sent to the government examination of question document. Application from private individual acceptable application official application cases from private parties in civil suits. Cases from municipal corporation and other local bodies, universities and railway authorities. Cases from Indian state direction of the government examiner to accept or refuse application filing above. Scale of fees, payment of fees in advance, additional cost of photographs, fees for opinion only, fees for photographs only, no reduction of fee if evidence is not required, additional fee of rupees 150 for each day after the first on which the examiner is detained, evidence of the government examiner in class B cases, instruction to courts not to detain the government examiner unnecessarily and to fix dates offered by the examiner as far as possible, right of the central government to levy extra charges in certain cases, travelling allowances of government examiner. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद ये फिर अपेंडिक्स आ गया इसका. Expert opinion in foregoing forgeries relating to stamp and currency and banknote fees chargeable by the master security printing. Expert opinion about guidance of currency and banknotes fees of expert when opinion is required by the police or the reserve bank. Chapter 10 है जी forfeited and unclaimed property and malkhanas. General subject dealt with the officer in charge direction as to preparation of returns, statements to be submitted monthly, items of uncertain revenue, stamps required special attention, petition of bail and security bonds forfeited, Nazir strong box not to contain property exceeding 1000, Nazir storeroom and police guard, disposal of property attached and subsequently found to be unclaimed. Rules: entry of property made over to Nazir in registered K and its safe custody. Articles forfeited and made over to the Nazir to be entered in one register etc. And directions are the entries to be made in the register. Directions with regard to the above mentioned register. Monthly statements by Nazir and its verification by the officer in charge. Monthly inspection of storeroom and monthly inspection of register K. Judicial forfeitures. Duty of court to send monthly statements and verify Nazir's district statement. Forfeiture of earnest money, auction sale in the execution. Duty of court to submit statement. Duty of record keeper on receipt of execution record. Statement of sums realized under forfeited security and bail bonds. Custody and disposal of the property attached under the criminal procedure. Arrangement for the safe custody, preservation and proper management of the property attached register to be maintained. Time for the disposal of the attached property by sale. Time for the disposal of the attached property by sale. Directions as to be delivery of property released. Deposit of sale proceeds of income of property in treasury. Refund of proceeds or income. अच्छा जी, फिर ये इंडेक्स रजिस्टर्ड फॉर्म्स आ गए. रूल्स: arms and ammunition. Nazarat officer separate room in malkhanas under the double lock to be provided for custody of arms etc. Responsibility of the Nazarat officer. Responsibility of the district Nazir. Returns of arms etc. deposited in malkhanas. Returns of arms deposited in malkhanas. Sales of arms etc. forfeited and not ordered to be destroyed. Magistrate dealing with administration of the Indian Arms Act to be informed of the sale procedure for destruction of arms, ammunition and military stores. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है फिर फॉर्म्स आ गए, ये जो अभी हमने पढ़े हैं फॉर्म 1, 2, 3 सिविल कोर्ट्स. मालखानाज. कस्टडी एंड सुपरविजन ऑफ मालखानाज. Custody of property with the civil Nazir. Custody of property with the treasury office. Miscellaneous registered care record keepers responsibility. Disposal of the property. Duties of the officer in charge. Malkhana. Guarding of malkhanas. Control and supervision of outlying storerooms. Custody of valuable security jewels etc. in outlying courts. Custody of perishable property and livestock. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है चैप्टर 11 रियलाइजेशन ऑफ फाइन्स. डायरेक्शन टू बी यूज इन मेकिंग फर्दर एफर्ट्स टू रियलाइज फाइन इन इफ सफिशिएंट एफर्ट्स मे हैव फेल्ड. वारंट for recovery of fine to be used only for special reasons. If accused has undergone imprisonment of fine registered, its scope and inspection, general register of fines, its scope and inspection, payment of fine at the time of pronouncing sentence, procedure for recovery of fine imposed by session judge, production for recovery of fine imposed by magistrate, warrants for recovery of fine not to be sent to police, recovery of fine in installment and suspension of execution of sentence of imprisonment, recovery of fine in cantonment, procedure for attachment, sale, and objections as laid down in CPC. Attachment of agricultural implements should be rarely reported to objection to attachment, commission of sale, action to be taken subsequently to the realization of a fine. Fine may be attended at any time to magistrate, tahsildar, and superintendent of jail and the district magistrate. Form of receipt of fine, number of copies be prepared. Procedure will be followed when fine is paid in another district. Sums received by courts in payment of fine shall be paid into the treasury. Sums realized by honorary magistrate may be sent to treasury by money order in certain cases. Recost of money order, directions as to the credit of sums sent to treasury, refund of fines credited to government, withdrawal of fines paid in treasury at deposit, consequences of neglect to follow the direction, statement of fines imposed, realized, and credited to government to be sent to the accountant general every month. Register 15 of fine realization. अच्छा जी, ड्यूटी ऑफ फाइन मोहर्रर टू ड्रा द अटेंशन ऑफ मजिस्ट्रेट और टू अनरियलाइज्ड फाइन्स. Quarterly statement of fine realized to be sent to session judge. Action to taken by session judge. Illegal detention after the fine has been recovered should be prevented. Precaution to be taken as to noting of fines as to prisoner transferred to another jail. A general result of the direction. Duty of officer in charge of the fine department to check the district fine register. Some directions apply to fines imposed by civil courts for contempt of court. Appointment of an officer to supervise the fines and department. Duty of district magistrate and controlling officer re supervision. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद चैप्टर 2 सिंपल अफर्मेशन, ओथ, फॉर्म्स, ये भी सारे फॉर्म्स है. सिंपल कन्फर्मेशन, सोलमन अफर्मेशन, oath commissioner, their appointment, fees, etc. Attestation of affidavits by process serving and other officials. Register of affidavits. Contents of affidavits. Affidavit generally to be confined to facts which are within defendant's knowledge. Identification of dependent. Mode of attestation. Female deponents. Attesting officer duties. Attesting, signing and verification of evidence. Manner of administering oath to deponent. Form of verification of oath or affirmation. अच्छा जी, उसके बाद चैप्टर 14 आ गया. लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स बाय और अगेंस्ट जुडिशियल ऑफिसर्स. Institution of proceeding by crown servant against defamatory attacks on his public acts with the sanction of government. No sanction required for private cases. Detailed rules. No criminal prosecution of a crown servant for official, ये वही crown वालों का है. Acts with sanction of the governor. Report about legal proceeding by or against judicial officer in his official capacity to be sent registered. चैप्टर 15. वो कहते हैं ना, अंग्रेज़ों ने हमें आज़ादी तो दे दी लेकिन गुलामी नहीं हमारे दिमाग से छूटी. चैप्टर 15. फॉरेन जुरिस्डिक्शन. पार्ट ए, जनरल jurisdiction in foreign state, extradition, service of process, execution, commission and letter of request. उसके बाद जी अपेंडिक्स है ये लेटर ऑफ रिक्वेस्ट के हवाले से, और है इसमें कुछ फिर वो इंडियन स्टेट फॉर. अच्छा, Justice of the Peace for the Punjab State Criminal Law and Procedure applicable. Appointment of Justice of Peace. Justice of Peace to commit for trial to High Court having jurisdiction. Justice of Peace invested with powers of magistrate of the first class and to hold inquest. Jurisdiction of High Court over European British subjects in Indian states. वैसे ये पढ़ने के बाद मैं सोच रही हूँ हाई कोर्ट का एक एप्लीकेशन लिखूँ कि भाई साहब इनमें थोड़ी चेंजिंग कर दे, मेहरबानी है. डेलीगेशन ऑफ पावर्स टू पंजाब. इतना बोझ डाला हुआ इस हाई कोर्ट वॉल्यूम 4 के ऊपर फजूल में. एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ कंडेम्ड पर्सनस. फॉर्म्स ऑफ वारंट, कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें कोई खास पढ़ने वाला। रेलवे इंक्लूडेड इन लॉ एंड लॉ एप्लीकेबल नोटिफिकेशन हैं जी। क्रिमिनल जुरिस्डिक्शन, सिविल जुरिस्डिक्शन, टेबल, ये सारी वही क्राउन वाली चीज़ें हैं उसमें डाली हुई। अभी तक वही का वही चल रहा है। हालांकि हमारे मुल्क में क्राउन सिस्टम नहीं है, फिर भी उसका चलाया हुआ वो। मेरा ख्याल है बस ही करूँ मैं इसको, पढ़ने वाली इसमें कोई चीज़ नहीं है, खाली शायद अगला चैप्टर हो कोई पढ़ने वाला। फॉर्म ऑफ वारंट है, शेड्यूल। वैसे मैंने भी इसको पहले नहीं पढ़ा, फर्स्ट टाइम पढ़ रही हूँ सिविल जुरिस्डिक्शन, और बिल्कुल मज़े का नहीं लगा मुझे। पहले 3 वॉल्यूम फिर भी कुछ बेहतर है, पढ़ने लायक है, ये तो पढ़ने लायक ही नहीं है कुछ भी इसमें चीज़ें। चलो जी, मे भी अगला चैप्टर हो कुछ काबिल। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया नोटिफिकेशन, इंडिया के नोटिफिकेशन अभी तक इसमें रखे मैं संभाल के, जैसे वो लव लेटर को संभाल के रखते हैं ना। चैप्टर 16 आ गया जी, रिकॉर्ड्स का पार्ट है। प्रिपरेशन ऑफ जुडिशियल रिकॉर्ड, जनरल डायरेक्शन, क्वालिटी ऑफ पेपर to be used for application etc, paper to be used for English record, paper to be used for forms, paper to be used for vernacular records of court, paper to be used for vernacular autograph records of courts, general instruction for preparation of record, writing on top and sides, margin to be left on either side, how records should be tied and kept between stiff covers, English paper exhibits, abstract to case, evidence and judgment, number of pages, handwriting directions as to preparation of index number on record, withdrawal documents to be noted on index, separate index for each part, note about destruction and certificates, consigning record to record rooms, record of small cause court, insolvency and guardianship record, records of a civil appeal revision decided in sub judge specially empowered। अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है चेकिंग ऑफ रिकॉर्ड बाय द रिकॉर्ड कीपर, चेकिंग ऑफ रिकॉर्ड ऑन इट्स पासिंग फ्रॉम ऑफिशियल अनदर, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ केसेस इन विच डिक्रीज हैव बीन सेटिस्फाइड और हैव बिकम कैपेबल एग्जीक्यूशन टू बी सेंड टू रिकॉर्ड कीपर। पार्ट बी, ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ जुडिशियल रिकॉर्ड, डुप्लीकेट चालान्स, checking of record, maintenance of judicial record, docket to accompany record, transmission of record to appellate courts in parts, precepts of high court, quarterly list of record sent from record room but not returned, rules, inspection of decided case, inspection of pending cases, time and place for inspection by government law officer, court fee on application for inspection, date to day inspection fee, account and made of payment, no fees when a record is sent for under order 13 rule 10 CPC, no fees when record is inspected by lawyers of government, inspection of separate record, copying disallowed but notes may be taken, fees in court, fee stamps, free inspection of court registered, custody of judicial records। अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है प्रोडक्शन ऑफ रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड्स, रिक्वेजिशन टू बी मेड टू डिप्टी कमिश्नर, प्रोडक्शन ऑफ रिकॉर्ड्स बाय रेवेन्यू ऑफिशियल मैयर टू ऑब्विएट प्रोडक्शन ऑफ रिकॉर्ड रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड, अपीलेट कोर्ट्स टू अवॉइड कॉलिंग फॉर ओरिजिनल रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड, एक्सट्रैक्ट्स फ्रॉम रेवेन्यू रिकॉर्ड, destruction of record, timely destruction of records, manner of destruction and disposal of waste paper, arrangement of certain civil records in 3 parts, records to be divided into 2 parts, A, B, papers included in parts A and B of civil record। अच्छा जी, उसके बाद है records to be prepared for 60 years, records to be prepared for 50 years, record to be prepared for 20 years। ये इसमें लिखे हुए हैं कि कौन कौन से रिकॉर्ड का कितने अर्से तक के लिए प्रिजर्व किया जाएगा, 60 साल के लिए, 20 साल के लिए, 3 साल के लिए, 1 साल के लिए, मोड ऑफ रेकनिंग पीरियड, नोट्स ऑफ डिस्ट्रक्शन, प्रिजर्वेशन ऑफ पेपर्स बिलोंगिंग टू गवर्नमेंट और प्राइवेट पर्सन, रजिस्टर टू बी preserved in perpetuity, register to be preserved for 50 years, register to be preserved for 20 years, register to be preserved for 12 years, 6 years, 3 years, regarding personal file of officers, administrative and menial servants, destruction of watches relating to contingencies for 3 years, preservation of record relating to sheriff's petty and civil courts deposit accounts। अच्छा जी, उसके बाद लाइब्रेरीज बनाए जाएंगे और उनमें कौन कौन सी बुक्स रखी जाएंगी, ये उस हवाले से सारा का सारा। जैसे वो शाही लाइब्रेरी होती थी ना पुराने ज़माने में, ऐसे हाई कोर्ट की भी लाइब्रेरी होगी। है वैसे तो बनाई हुई लाइब्रेरी हर कोर्ट में होती है, तो ये उस हवाले से इंस्ट्रक्शंस है कि कौन कौन सी बुक्स, उसमें कौन कौन से एक्ट्स मौजूद होंगे। चैप्टर 19 है कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस, जनरल डायरेक्शंस, correspondence with the high court, correspondence with the high court, letters, margins, size and filing, loss or damage challan, verification of challan, checking of judicial record received with challan, destruction of correspondence, high court circulars and correction slips to rules and orders, correspondence with Indian states and places abroad, precepts of high court, other references, vernacular correspondence connected with judicial matters, when correspondence in vernacular advisable, when correspondence in vernacular advisable, दोनों दफ़ा लिखी एक ही बात। अच्छा, correspondence regarding arrest and transmission of offenders, public notices and proclamation, English figures, judicial orders and processes, signature and address of the offices, vernacular correspondence between officers of different ranks, rubber stamp for signature not allowed, rubber stamp for signature not allowed when letter may be signed by an official। बहुत ही डिसअपॉइंट किया है इस ऑर्डर ने मुझे। कंप्लाइंस विद द हाई कोर्ट प्रिसेप्ट्स, लैंग्वेज ऑफ प्रिसेप्ट, लैंग्वेज ऑफ इंडोर्समेंट ऑफ रिटर्न प्रिसेप्ट टू बी ट्रीटेड, अर्जेंट प्रिसेप्ट्स एंड टू बी एंटर्ड in dispatch register, dispatch of connected records, checking of record received from high court, transmission of record of high court, packing of records and dispatch of connected records, extract from settlement records to be sent, requisition for records should be promptly compiled with high court notices to promptly served। चैप्टर 21 है जी बजट, इंट्रोडक्टरी सैंक्शन एंड बजट प्रोविजन नेसेसरी फॉर एक्सपेंडिचर, हेड्स ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट कंट्रोलिंग एंड डिस्बर्सिंग authorities, preparation of budget estimates and schedule of new expenditure, estimates, budget forms, date of submission of estimates, classification of items in the estimates ordinary expenditure, schedule of new expenditure, other estimates, instruction should be strictly followed, importance of punctual submission of correct estimates, common errors, primary units of appropriation, appropriation of the supply, reappropriation, application for additional appropriation, reasons additional appropriation already sanctioned should be mentioned, submission of the application, duty of forwarding authority, prompt submission of the application, additions to the contract, contingent contracts। थक गई हूँ, ये मैं एक सिटिंग में रिकॉर्ड करती हूँ, लेकिन आप अगर इसको पूरा सुन रहे हैं तो थोड़ी थोड़ा करके सुनेंगे, पूरा बहुत ही बोरिंग है ये। कम्युनिकेशन ऑफ ग्रांट टू द हाई कोर्ट, ग्रांट्स फॉर पे ऑफ ऑफिसर्स एंड एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बाय हाई कोर्ट, जनरल कंट्रोल ऑफ हाई कोर्ट, ड्यूटी ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग ऑफिसर टू प्रिवेंट एक्सपेंडिचर बियॉन्ड ग्रांट, duty of disbursing officer, money to be spent only on the object for which sanctioned, the duty of audit officer। Chapter 22 judicial buildings, submission of proposal and estimates, what are judicial building, bar rooms and waiting rooms, references, procedure to be adopted whenever a work is to be proposed, submission of proposal to obtain high court's sanction, limits of high court's power to sanction, date of submission of project, allotment of funds for works, intimation of administrative approved to PWD, register of works approved, minor works, session houses, management, district judge and disbursing officers, use of sessions houses by other officers, offences, use of session houses by other offences, annual district civil and criminal reports, statement to be prepared strictly according to instructions, reports accompanying statements, date of submission, part fees, court furniture, scale, courtroom में क्या क्या चीज़ें होंगी ये उस हवाले से लिखा है, बाथरूम, डाइनिंग रूम, लिस्ट ऑफ फर्नीचर फॉर ईच ईयर, रिन्यूअल ऑफ फर्नीचर। Chapter 23, Reports and Returns. Different kinds of returns. The statement to be prepared strictly according to instruction. Reports, accompanying statement, date of submission, scope of statement, provincial statement, district statement, discrepancies between statements submitted by police and district magistrates. अच्छा जी, फिर ये आ गया इसके annexures. मेरा ख्याल ख़त्म हो गया, आगे कुछ नहीं है इसका, नहीं है थोड़ा सा. Introductory district essential judge statement, monthly statement to be retained in high court, subordinate judges statement, district criminal court statement, remarks, submission or to high court forms. And फिर उसके list of cases adjourned for arrangement, arguments, remarks by district judge on monthly statement, a date of submission of abstracts, statement to be supplied to police, columns to be filled by magistrate, directions to certain columns, final order to be entertained, information to be supplied to the canal authorities, returns of cases in which the collector acts as ministerial officer in the execution officers. अच्छा, फिर फॉर्म इसका अपेंडिक्स 1. ये वॉल्यूम 4 में फॉर्म ज़्यादा हैं. 24 है जी रजिस्टर्ड का. इंडेंट्स, बिल्डिंग साइज, etc, सजेशन ऑफ अल्ट्रेशन, एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ द लिस्ट to given in appendix, register to be kept in English, common mistake on filing up register. ये सारे फिर अब इसके रजिस्टर आगे आगे फिर अपेंडिक्स है इसका. अभी भी है, ये ख़त्म हो गया. 284 पे ख़त्म हो गया ये. एंड है बस, नहीं है अभी. एक आखिरी चैप्टर है 25. Supply of forms. Supply of forms, indents, date of submission of indent, instruction for preparing indents, challan of forms dispatched, periodical returns, list of forms stocked, forms establishment and contingent bills, civil nazir to stock forms, universal forms and envelopes, vernacular forms. Forms should be correctly prepared. Indents. Part B, printing, lithographed forms, date of submission of indents, printing at private press, direct, prohibited, emergent printing, complaints against jail press. चलो जी, फाइनली ये ख़त्म हुआ. थैंक यू फॉर लिसनिंग. अगर आपने ये पूरा सुना है तो बड़ी हिम्मत वाली बात है, क्योंकि अब मैंने बड़ी मुश्किल से रिकॉर्ड किया इसको. चलें जी, फिर मिलते हैं किसी और लेक्चर के साथ. अल्लाह हाफिज़.